I'm Natasha Maidoff, and this is Artist Planet. This is my conversation with conceptual artist Meg Cranston, who creates sculptures, paintings, and installations with an air of whimsy that often belies the symbolism and deeper implications of the ideas she explores. Her interest lies in the symbiotic relationship between identity and branding. In 1992, she was part of the Helter Skelter exhibition at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles. She has shown work in the Venice Biennale, at Art Basel, at museums including the Hammer, the Getty, the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and at prestigious galleries all around the world. Her books include Hot Pants in a Cold, Cold World and Good Morning, Evil Genius. Hi, Meg. Thank you so much for being part of this series. And I admire your work, and I want to know more about you as an artist. And let's start with the big question, which is, who are you and how do you survive as an artist on this planet?
I'm Meg Cranston, and yes, I'm an artist. I've been working as an artist since the late 80s. I went to art school out here in California at Cal Arts. Previously, I studied social science. I studied anthropology and sociology. So I'm an artist. I work. My work's pretty broad. At present, I doing a lot of painting, but I've done performance and sculpture and all kinds of things. I also write a little bit, curate reluctantly, but I do curate sometimes because I think it's great if artists are willing to curate. And I teach at Otis College of Art and Design, and I'm the chair of the art department.
Great. And do you feel like there was how did you become an artist? Like, was there a seminal moment or was an evolution? What was it for you?
When I was a kid, I always enjoyed art. I always thought I'd have some kind of artistic life. I loved ballet. I was a little ballet dancer, and I always wrote. I wrote short stories from the time I was a really young kid, just for fun. And I went to college. I thought I'd be an English major, but I didn't like the way English was taught. I still have some of the same, questions about that. So I wanted something broader, I guess. And I had taken an anthropology class in high school, and I loved it. And I thought, wow, the study of man, it's so broad. Like I've always looked for what's the broadest possible category I could be involved in to allow maximum freedom. So so I studied anthropology, but I didn't want to be an anthropologist because I thought, oh, well, that just means you have to be an academic, right? And I didn't like the monograph. It seemed very confined in how you can talk about what you've learned. I mean, there are anthropologists who have experimented and they've written fiction and other things, but I thought, well, that's really not for me. So I moved to New York and did different things, worked on Wall Street. And then I just said, well, art school would be good. But I wanted a really broad art school. I was like, I don't want someone to tell me, oh, I have to learn perspective. I'm like, why? I mean, it was only invented in the Renaissance. You don't necessarily have to use it. So fortunately, I knew about a friend had gone to Cal Arts, and that was a super good fit for me. Conceptual art was a good fit. It was probably the only art school I could probably get into because I didn't have the conventional portfolio, let's say, but they were open to that. They accepted my writing and whatever. And I didn't really know the faculty there, Baldessari and Michael Asher and those people, but I quickly figured it out. And so I was comfortable there. And I was also comfortable with the amount of theory that was going on because I was familiar with a lot of that theory from studying sociology. So I was like, oh yeah, I know about Marx, I know about the Frankfurt School. This seems cool.
How would you describe getting like a Guggenheim and being part of the Venice Biennale affecting the trajectory of your career, or did it shape your work, do you think?
I mean, I was happy to get the Guggenheim, but I did for a while say the curse of the Guggenheim. I felt a very heavy responsibility when I got that. And I mean, looking back, it wasn't that much money, but it was a shitload of money for me. And I think I did, I did make a lot of work when I got that, but I did feel the weight of it. And yeah, so it was just super beneficial. But yeah, that was it was a little weird at first.
What does the weight mean? What does that mean? The weight of it?
That they've given me this money, I better produce. I better do something with it. This is a once in a lifetime, and I'd caution people against this. This is my once in a lifetime opportunity. I'll never get another grant, or I'll never have this much money at one time. Yeah, I wonder if people feel that when they get to MacArthur, because that's like a serious amount of money. Yeah, we're not used to that as artists. We're used to getting the reward after we've made it, right? So somebody buys it and that affirms it. But to give it to us in advance is kind of like, oh wow, I better get my skates on and do something.
But do you think that year helped you evolve, to make a greater progress that you wouldn't have had otherwise? Do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I continue to teach. Looking back, I probably would have been more adventurous with that. I would, just said, well, okay, I'm going to go someplace or do something. But, it's hard. Like, especially if you have an apartment or a studio, you don't want to, you don't want to jinx, you don't want to jeopardize it. So, yeah, I would have been more adventurous probably. The Venice Biennale was a great thing, a great opportunity for me. I look at the work I made, and it's kind of funny. Yeah, why did I make that? But I met a lot of people, and that was like a lot of my generation, and that time was really good. The early 90s, the market had tanked. I've been through several market tankings, and they always work out. A lot of the young British artists who I knew, they were coming up at that time, and I was showing a lot in Europe. And I don't know, in that Biennale, it was just a good time. Like, all the artists sitting around at the, pizza parlor, like, I don't know, like Rick Taravanija and Damien Hirst, and, and we were all young, and we're like, holy shit, we got in this thing. It's really cool, So I have good memories of that, and good memories of that time. Artists having, nobody was buying, and that was good. That freed us to a certain extent. I mean, we complained, of course,
But to talk about a little bit more what that means that it freed you to have no one buying. Because most people would feel, might not be obvious why that happens.
Well, I don't know, kind of like many of our teachers who came up in the 70s, there was no market. There was a market, but not for what they were doing. The abstract expressionists maybe had a market, maybe David Hockney had a market, but many of these artists, there's no market. And so I'll just do whatever I want. Looking back, I think that, like, I like the artist Tracy Emin. I like her as a writer, and I really liked her early work, particularly her video work. If she were as rich and famous as she is now, would she have made that work? I don't know. She did it because she could, and nobody was, besides the other artists, paying attention. I mean, then she quickly became famous, but even Damien Hirst, like, he just like, well, I'll just do something completely outrageous and get a shark, I don't know why I'm talking about Damien, but
yeah.
So, money can be a problem. Money can definitely be a problem in art making. Too much money too soon. I mean, I sound like an old, daddy saying that, but.
So I'm also curious about your piece called "The Complete Works of Jane Austen." Can you describe that and talk about it and how it came about?
I guess the assumption is that that art qualifies experience, right? It describes qualities. So I was interested in how one quantifies experience. How big is it?
I see you.
Right. How big is something? Right. So how big am I? Like, what's the size? How do you measure it? So Jane Austen was like the data set. I admire Jane Austen a great deal and read her when I was a kid and thought she was funny and things. So if I look at you, I can't tell. You could have just finished a really fantastic book, right? And it's completely changed your thinking. But I can't see it. I can't quantify it. Right? So I wanted to be able to see it. So I wanted to show her magnitude or whatever. So her volume. So I calculated my rate of reading and my lung capacity and what it would take, how much air it would take to read the complete works. And I came up with a number, which I think was like 100,000 liters. And then I had an inflatable balloon made to that quantity. And that was my tribute to her.
And where did it sail, this balloon? Did you let it go, or?
It didn't sail. It sat on the ground, and it was first made for a garden at a castle in Germany. So it sat in this really nice, very old garden, which I thought was perfect for her. And then I guess people, you could stand next to it and you could measure yourself against it. So the complete works of Jane Austen is pretty big. What would be the complete works of Meg Cranston at the time would have been maybe like a beach ball. So you see what I'm saying? So, and sculpture is a lot about that, standing next to it. The scale of sculpture is usually human scale. So, how much larger is it compared to the average human?
Right. And so there's still this measurement, right, of what is our value? How big is our balloon?
Yeah. And some people want, mass audience. Not all artists get mass audience, but you have to have some audience. I would say you have to have some audience, which is, maybe it's 10 people. They're probably musicians, that make such difficult music that maybe they have an audience of 100, but that's a good audience that really understands. Is that viable economically? Well, maybe not, but you have to have some, at least for me, if an artist says I just make work for myself, to me, that's an amateur. That's probably pretty hard to say. That's pretty rough, but.
And why is it that the audience is important?
Well, I think all the art forms are means to reach people, to reach an audience, to have a reception. Otherwise, for me, I'm just happy. I could just think the thought. I don't really need to make it. I'm satisfied. Oh, that was a great idea. Now I don't, why bother making it? I make it because I want to communicate with somebody else. So, and if nobody understands, for me, that's a failure.
So you also mentioned that you like things that are quickly thrown together and sort of playful or childlike. Why, and as opposed to something, or I guess just talk about that. Yeah.
It's just it's just a preference, I guess. It's just an aesthetic that I think this was a quote from Nietzsche. Everything good runs on light feet. So I like when things run on light feet, even if it, it's a serious issue or whatever. The representation doesn't feel so hard. There's air, there's. And it also, I used to use the term ramshackle. I like when things are a bit ramshackle, or the touch is very light, because it's like, okay, they came together in this moment, and then they could fly away again. And things, paintings that are hundreds of years old can have that quality. A Bernini sculpture can have that quality of that. I don't know. For me, it's lifelike in the sense that it feels. I feel the possibility of change.
And that just made me think about one other thing, which is that our kids went to school together. And how has being a mother affected your work, or do you think it has?
Yeah, I mean, it's affected me as a person, and I think it gives you a chance to sort of artistically to watch people learn up close, and then it gives you a window into, wow, that's how we think, or like you look at drawings of young kids, or even the way they say things. It's like, that, so you learn something about, the human mind having a kid. And yeah, I mean, my son is not at all interested in art, which I see as a great triumph, that I haven't narcissistically, coded him to be just like me. Yeah. I think it's good. I mean, a female artist, it's kind of a thing. I didn't talk very much about being a mother, because in my work, in my teaching, nor in my artwork, because I did fear I would be judged for that. Oh, she's going to be flaky. She's going to be, so I did fear that. I think it's female artists get judged for having children more than men. I mean, the men, they're having children all over the place. And then nobody ever asks them, how has being a father affected your work? Or how about this one? How has being a really bad father affected your work? The history of male artists, they're not the best fathers. I mean, this is mean to men, but historically, they haven't been the best fathers.
I happen to have a really good one, but.
Well, you're lucky. Yeah.
But that's really interesting to me, what you said about you were afraid that it's like the opposite of how women are judged outside of the art world. You're actually afraid that it would be a stigma to become a mother. And I guess, can you just tell me a little bit more about what that?
I mean, I've literally had people say this to me, that dealer, not my third dealer, but that for women artists, love is the enemy. If they, once they fall in love, forget it, they're done. Or they're so busy thinking about love that they get distracted. And then when the kid comes, it's even worse. So I didn't want that assumption put on, to affect me. I did crazy things. I did like a show in Germany 3 months after my son was born. I'm like, what the heck was I doing in Germany? But I had a 3-month-old infant, but I was scared, that I have to stay in the game.
Yeah. And so you were very conscious of that.
Definitely. Yeah. Now I think it was foolish, you know what I mean? It's like, who cares, right? But yeah, I was taught as an artist to be competitive and stay on it. It has to come first before everything. I was taught by pretty hardcore people.
Who taught you that?
Oh, Baldessari. And, to a certain extent, Asher. I mean, both of them, they lived kind of monk-like existences to foreground the art. And, I mean, John had children, but yeah. And otherwise, I mean, it takes a lot to be, super successful, famous artist. It's an incredible amount of work. Not that I ever achieved that, but it's, I think, when you see the level that some people are producing at, it's like, wow, staffs of 40 people. And I mean, they're doing it.
So did John Baldessari have several sort of sayings that you have in your head that like whisper to?
Johnisms? Oh yeah, I have many Johnisms. I mean, we were very close friends for years and years and years. And yeah, one of my favorite, I have to say my favorite Johnism is anything worth doing is worth doing badly. That's a very liberating expression.
That's puzzling to me. So what do you mean? So anything worth doing is worth doing badly. What does that mean?
Yeah. So if it's worth doing, the exhibition or making the film or whatever, it's going to happen that you're not going to be able to do it, everything you want to do, right? But it's worth doing. So, okay, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, but it's worth doing. So tolerate that you possibly would do it badly. Doing it badly is better than not doing it.
So it frees you up to like, okay, I'm going to just do my best and let go.
Yeah. Because over a long career, you're going to make some stickers, but then you don't even know. I mean, some of the works that got, for me, that got, recognition are not at the moment my favorites. And I'm like, what about this stuff? And then it just changes. I mean, we see it, I don't know, the current thing with Alice Neal. She's getting a lot of attention and there were times when people were like, oh, Alice Neal, they thought she was so conservative or whatever. I don't remember. I always liked Alice Neal, but in graduate school, I don't think I would have been talking about, openly about Alice Neal. But then times change. Things change.
Thank you. I have one last question, which is, do you see an end date? Will you ever stop making art? Or
I hope not. I mean, that's like the big bonus prize of being an artist. You don't have to retire. I mean, we don't have that idea. And you can work. I mean, look at Matisse, he's so incapacitated. There he was in his bed with his scissors. You don't ever have to stop. And one of the nice things about the art, it's not 100% true, but it isn't ageist. Age is okay in art, unlike many other fields, right? So I think the new vogue, the current vogue of old female artists is fantastic and hilarious. I'm moving right into that, Natasha. Old.
It's inevitable.
On the other hand, it's kind of good, but it's like it takes a really long time to be a good painter or a good artist in general. It's like so.
And to find that confidence, I think.
Yeah, and maybe for women more so because maybe they did have children or whatever, and they couldn't work at the same level, and 50 plus is, I know from my friends, it's like a good time. Like women can come really alive at that time. I don't know, men maybe too, but it's a cliche, but it's what I've seen happening. So the old lady artist is a good one. I like that.
Me too. Hold on, just another chance. Nolan, don't turn off the. I'm almost done with this interview. Please turn it off.
Oh, I love what you're wearing. You see what you're wearing?
Yeah, it is. Like it's with their. It's so funny. It is. It's perfectly. Yeah, and we didn't plan ahead. It was just precious. Well, thank you so much, Meg. I mean, I think I really appreciate you talking about all of this, and I love your work and look forward to seeing what you're doing next. So
thank you very much. Enjoyed speaking with you.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
That was my conversation with Meg Cranston that we recorded in July of 2021. This episode was produced by me, Natasha Maidoff, and was edited by Carlos Bergs.